exhibiting some serious interest in increasing services to this particular market. We hope to further generate growth. Negotiating talks between the Australian government and the Philippine government is scheduled sometime the second half of this year. These talks are bogged down with respect to fifth freedom rights, but we hope to force the issue within this year. Next, please. Okay. Of special interest to us is domestic travel. The statistics here emanates from what we call the Household Survey on Domestic Travelers conducted by the National Statistics Office every year. Okay, for last year, 2012, some 40.7 million Filipinos traveled within our archipelago. More than half of that, mind you, are what we call day tourists, okay? And less than half indulged on overnight travel. However, it still is very, very substantial because each Filipino that travels spend an average of 4,000 pesos. Okay? The average length of stay is 3.5 nighs. 25% of that 4,000 pesos is spent on pasalubong or shopping, which fuels our retail industry. The most popular destinations with respect to Filipinos traveling is Metro Manila. The biggest magnet, obviously, are those humongous shopping malls. Second is Boracay, and third would be the beaches of Cebu City. Okay. We have simply revised our targets with NSCB in terms of our projections, and we will end the National Tourism Development Plan year 2016 with some 56 million Filipinos traveling around. Next, please. Okay, here's the opportunity. In terms of room capacities, in 2012, through a survey conducted by our regional offices and local government units, we have an inventory of some 162,700 rooms all over the country. Less than half of that are in the 3, 4, and 5-star category. 16 or 15,000 rooms are in the pipeline and will be operational by the year 2014. Out of that 15,000 rooms, 6,400 are being constructed in our international gateway city, Metro Manila. So practically 1/3 of those rooms are to be built here in Metro Manila. Next, please. We have identified the room gap of some 37,000 rooms all over various categories. This is juxtaposed because of what we have mentioned, the target of 10 million overseas visitors and some 20 million Filipinos traveling. Okay. The issue now confronting this tourism industry is our close consultations with the Board of Investments. BOI intends to come up with a moratorium on the incentive package being given to hotel and resort developers, particularly in the cities of Metro Manila, Cebu, Mactan, and Boracay. We have appealed to BOI that they shelve that particular move at least until 2015, when we are able to generate more rooms, particularly in the countryside. More of this by or after the elections. Okay, in terms of air seats, which provides us accessibility and connectivity to our major markets. Please take note of Korea. Last year, we successfully negotiated the increase of weekly seats from 19,500 to 28,000, which exists right now, currently being enjoyed by both Philippine carriers and Korean carriers. The utilization rate right now for the Philippines is 79%, with Korean carriers posting a 90% increase with respect to the seats. So if we are to be able to succeed in our projected arrivals coming from Korea of some 1.2 million by the end of this year, we again have to sit down in the bargaining table and be able to successfully increase the existing 28,000 seats to something like 35 per week. Of interest also, if you will see, seat utilization from the Philippine side vis-a-vis the foreign side, particularly in the markets of India, Indonesia, Hong Kong, okay, and Taiwan. There are still gaps, particularly in the Indonesia side, and that is the reason why we have pinpointed our doubling our efforts in the Indonesian market. It's an archipelago consisting of more than 200 million Indonesians. The standards of living have substantially increased, but last year only 38,000 Indonesians visited the country. So we will be redoubling our efforts, and in fact we have already established an office, a satellite office in Jakarta. AirAsia and Garuda is coming to our offices first week of March, and some informal discussions will be undertaken to be able to look forward to establishing direct flights between these countries, utilizing Garuda as the air carrier. Next, please. On airports, considering the fact that our premier airport, Naya, is operating at a 130% above capacity, and that we believe the opening of Terminal 3 could be delayed to next year, early next year. The strategy obviously is to utilize secondary gateways. So you've seen the newspapers this past months with DOTC practically bidding out expansion contracts of some selected airports. But of immediate concern to us in the tourism industry, aside from obviously improving our secondary gateways, is the provision of customs, immigration, and quarantine services. Let me share you a side story about what happened sometime January this year. We successfully concluded talks with a charter operator in Seoul, and we agreed that 9 charter flights initially are to emanate from Seoul and land directly in Bacolod Silay International Airport. These 9 charter flights are fully loaded with golfers, mind you. They're just here, or they just want to go to Bacolod to play golf and stay 3 nights. We pleaded with the customs and immigration people. Customs responded. Immigration said they do not have the capability to set up immigration services in Bacolod. The charter operator, together with Zest Air, volunteered to pay for the per dimes and the transport cost of bringing these immigration people to Bacolod. No dice. But since the contracts already have been signed, we had to fly them in. We flew them in via Cebu Mactan International Airport for these golfers to be processed and then at the dead of the night, flew to Bacolod. The operator had to pay, obviously, 2 times landing fees, as well as the additional fuel. He lost money. However, he has serious intentions of doing it again sometime July, August. The piece of good news here is that because of this particular bottleneck, Executive Secretary Almendrez's office issued a directive to selected government agencies to establish processing centers consisting of customs, immigration, and quarantine services in 7 airports as soon as possible. These are the airports of Puerto Princesa, Langendingan, Bacolod, Iloilo, Tagbilaran, Tacloban, and Legazpi. In response to this, the Bureau of Immigration submitted an urgent request to the Department of Budget and Management. Please release 198 million pesos to us. The plan is to be able to recruit and train 500 additional immigration people as soon as possible. As to when this will happen, we are in a praying mode, at least in the Department of Tourism. So, we continue to expound the use of our secondary gateways. Obviously, Clark International Airport is in the forefront. Our office in Shanghai and are in discussion talks to choose with charter operators in Chengdu, Sichuan province. So something positive might come out with that after the elections, to fly Chengdu Clark directly. Next, please. Okay, 33 new airplanes are to be delivered to our Philippine carriers starting this month to March 2014. That is broken down into 14 Airbus 320s, okay, 7 321s, care of Philippine Airlines, 10 Airbus 330s, which will be fielded to the Middle East, Australia, Japan, Korea, and 2 Boeing 777s, each of which has a capacity to accommodate 350 passengers. So, the issue now confronting us is as to when will we be able to regain the Category 1 status. As most of you, if you have read the newspapers recently, the ICAO team is right now in Manila conducting another round of evaluations and will be leaving us sometime February 28. Even us in the tourism department, they know exactly or don't even have an educated guess as to what our chances are. But obviously, these are deliveries already of airplanes. Most of the routes that will be flown in will be in ASEAN, in mainland China, like what we have mentioned, the Middle East, primarily United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, and Australia, with Philippine Airlines leading the pack of introducing services, hopefully to Darwin and to Brisbane. As to marketing, our implementing arm, the Tourism Promotions Board, should be fully operational sometime June with hopefully a bigger kitty, with PAGCOR sharing some of its profits, and that will enable us to relaunch the It's More Fun brand globally. Okay. The Tourism Secretary also will be commissioning a market research firm to evaluate the effectiveness of the brand. This will be tested in some 10 selected destinations, the result of which would enable us to tweak the campaign and make it more effective. We are also expanding and diversifying our products. During the previous year, 70% of travelers that visit our country enjoy beach resort holidays. We now want to diversify this by offering additional opportunities. Please take note that private sector has introduced new convention and exhibition facilities in our midst. You have SMX, the arena, the new convention center in Davao, and a new international convention center currently being built in Iloilo. Leisure and tourism, the first locator in Entertainment City, will open, that's Soler Hotel, next month. Okay. To be followed every succeeding year by the rest of the locators. Cruise and nautical tourism is being pursued quite aggressively. We have just invited 2 cruise companies to visit our shores. We're being helped by Singapore on this, who wants to build their country as a regional hub, but servicing the Philippines. Okay. Diving and marine sports obviously is being expanded. This will now include activities such as surfing and yachting. Next, please. In terms of upgrading skills, we recently were given a grant, a $6 million grant by the Asian Development Bank. And 2 consultants now are here preparing and conducting a training needs analysis, the results of which will be to offer various training programs, not only to the private sector, but equally, if not more important, to our local government units. While we have the framework for a national tourism development plan, we continue to lack the formulation and development of local and provincial plans, which has to be integrated to the overall picture. Therefore, a certain amount of this grant will be used to enhance the capability of selected LGUs in formulating these local plans. Next, please. Okay, we have successfully concluded and gone to bed with the Department of Public Works and Highways. For next year, they have set aside $12 billion of their budget to improve access between airports to the service center or the urban area, and to attractions within a radius of 60 kilometers. Okay. This will continue every year to culminate in 2016 with some 17 billion pesos being allotted. Okay. Okay. So, in terms of targets, it is still quite ambitious. We're not letting go of the 10 million overseas arrival mark for year-end 2016. And we have ramped up our projections for domestic travelers to 56 million. Okay. The bottom line really is, next please, not really counting tourists, but translating their activities into economic programs that can benefit the countryside. The rallying call is to generate this number of domestic and foreign tourists to how much we can distribute to provinces in terms of additional economic activities, and the most important one would be employment generation. Should these targets be met, If you look at the column of year 2016, that means to say that the tourism and transport, I underscore the transport component, okay, will be able to provide 7.4 million jobs. Okay, so it's not tourism only, tourism and transport. The share in terms of employment opportunities to the overall national share of jobs will rise to 18%. Okay, so on that note, again, we'd like to thank everyone to listening to us, and we wish everyone good luck in being able to achieve all these goals. Marami pong salamat.
How I wish our conference was in some white beach like that. But nevertheless, I hope this conference is turning out to be more fun, as it is always more fun in the Philippines. Thank you, USEC, Danielle Corpus, for that presentation. Indeed, an ambitious goal, 10 million visitor arrivals in 2016. And in order to achieve that goal, we all know very well that travelers will have to experience what our next speaker talks about, which is seamless travel experience. I mean, it's a very competitive global travel environment and travel industry. And without providing visitors or travelers this seamless experience, you really lose out. So our next speaker will talk about two buzzwords, connectivity and integration, and how I suppose Clark can emulate this kind of model and hopefully lead the pack in terms of attracting tourists in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Narzalina Lim. She is the president of Asia Pacific Projects Incorporated, a tourism and hospitality consulting company based in the Philippines, which specializes in tourism, strategic planning, marketing representation, training, and feasibility study preparation. Her company has prepared tourism plans and strategies for the Philippines, the latest one being our very own National Tourism Development Plan of the Philippines. It has also completed tourism planning and infrastructure design projects in China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and several other Southeast Asian countries. But most notably, our next speaker served also as Secretary of Tourism under President Corazon Aquino and under President Fidel Ramos. Before her appointment as Secretary, she was Undersecretary for Policy, Planning, and Development of the DOT. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all please welcome Nars Lim.
Thank you, Dave. Is this working? Can you hear me at the back? All right. I'd rather stay in the middle so you listen to me and not fall asleep. Because if I stay behind there, there's a barrier between you and me. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers, the Clark International Airport and GGLC, the Global Gateway Logistics City, especially Jeff and Chichos, for inviting me here. Every time I come to Clark, I'm always amazed at the developments. And while we may be impatient with the slowness of certain developments, there is something happening. And as Dave said, it will happen. When? Well, I guess we just have to work together to make that happen, and I will tackle some of these issues in my short presentation. I won't talk so long because I think that it's more important that we get the inputs from the audience during the panel discussion, as well as from the private sector representatives who are here, who will sit at the panel. So my topic is seamless travel, and Dave already said two key words, connectivity and integration. Okay, so what is seamless travel? Seamless travel should be viewed from the eyes of the customer. What is convenient for the customer and not for the supplier of the service? It means connectivity. as already mentioned. Now, it begins when the tourist or the traveler starts to search for information about the destination that he or she is going to visit. And where does the travel get this from? Several sources, of course, from the internet, and these days it's all handheld. Travel agents, they're still around in spite of the fact that the internet is taking some of its services away from them. Guidebooks, collateral materials, magazines, newspapers. It's always a source of frustration for me when I go abroad and I go into the travel agent's office and there's hardly any brochure or collateral material on the Philippines. You even find Vietnam and Cambodia there, but the Philippines hardly ever. Now, with the increase in budget that was mentioned by USEC Corpus for promotions and marketing, I hope that this lack of information can be addressed. Now, in terms of websites and information on the internet, there are a lot, but perhaps where we are lacking would be the completeness of the information. So the question is information about the destination and its attractions, facilities, and services easily available, and is it complete? We are competing with so many other destinations in the world that if the information is not complete and it's not readily accessible, then people will go elsewhere. It's a no-brainer. So the questions often asked by the traveler would be, how do I get to my hotel from the airport? And I think yesterday there were some comments about the difficulty of getting from Clark International Airport to the different hotels. It would be by metered taxi. Do you have it in Clark? Rent a car. Regular shuttle buses between airport and hotels. I tried to go to the Clark International Airport website, and when it came to transportation, the information was a bit fuzzy. So I think that maybe that is an area that we have to concentrate on. Are the transportation rates clearly indicated in the information? Are they regularly updated? How does the traveler know that he is not being exploited by the taxi driver or the transport provider? There should be transparency on the rates, and there should not be discrepancy in the rates being offered on the internet and when you arrive at the airport. There's nothing more than that leaves a bad taste in the mouth than when a traveler feels that he is not being treated fairly, especially when he's tired and is arriving at 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. How do I get to other destinations from the airport or from my hotel? Rent a car, shuttle buses to a bus depot, connecting flights, and other modes of transportation. Does surface transportation coincide with arrival of flights? So if I arrive at 2 o'clock in the morning,